Greetings, Earthlings! Cosmos the Alien here, and I thought I'd do a follow-up on last week's video and talk about 3 things that you should keep in mind when it comes to Bible translations. Now, the first 2 are less kind of warnings and more so just things to keep in the back of your mind while you're reading the Bible, due to the fact that it is being translated from Hebrew and Greek into English, and I'm assuming if you're watching these videos, you will be reading it in English. Meanwhile, the third is more of a warning, more of a thing to watch out for. You know, use your eyes, use your brain. You know, don't rely on the heart as much. You know, kind of keep an eye, keep a brain out. So without further ado, our first thing of note regarding translations is that any instance of I am or Lord in all caps is actually the Hebrew word YHWH, which is written out as Yahweh in English for the sake of better understanding the pronunciation. This name is given out to Moses in Exodus 3, where we hear the following. And Moses said unto God, Behold, when I come unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, The God of your fathers hath sent me unto you, and they shall say to me, What is his name? What shall I say unto them? And God said unto Moses, I am that I am. And he said, Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, I am hath sent me unto you. Alternative translations of the meaning of Yahweh that you might see are, I am who I am, and I will be who I will be. But they all apply to the same name and the same God. It's because of this meaning that you'll sometimes see it shortened in some translations as simply I am, due to that being a lot simpler to write out. Though you will commonly see it written out as the Lord, or some variation of that phrase, with Lord written out in all capital letters. As a further demonstration of this meaning, the name of God is used in some clever wordplay by Jesus in the 8th chapter of John's Gospel, as a declaration of his godhood. Then answered the Jews, and said unto him, Say we not well that thou art a Samaritan, and hast a devil? Jesus answered, I have not a devil, but I honor my Father, and ye do dishonor me, and I seek not mine own glory. There is one that seeketh and judgeth. Verily, verily, I say unto you, if a man keep my saying, he shall never taste of death. Then said the Jews unto him, Now we know that thou hast a devil. Abraham is dead, and the prophets. And thou sayest, If a man keep my saying, he shall never taste death. Art thou greater than our father Abraham, which is dead? And the prophets are dead. Whom makest thou thyself? Jesus answered, If I honor myself, my honor is nothing. It is my Father that honoreth me, of whom ye say that he is your God. Yet ye have not known him, but I know him. And if I should say, I know him not, I shall be a liar like unto you. But I know him, and keep his saying. Your father Abraham rejoiced to see my day, and he saw it, and was glad. Then said the Jews unto him, Thou art not yet 50 years old, and hast thou seen Abraham? Jesus said unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, before Abraham was, I am. Then they took up stones to cast at him, but Jesus hid himself, and went out of the temple, going through the midst of them, and so passed by. The mere usage of this word was enough to make the priests of the time attempt to kill Jesus, because using it in that way was Jesus' way of saying that he is God, something the religious leaders of the time could not accept, especially when accompanied by his condemnation of their behavior. That should show the power his name has, and why it is important to know where and when it pops up within the Bible. Alright, our second note is regarding love. Now, love as described in the Bible does not always equate to romantic or sexual love, even though modern usages of the word in English would make you think that the word only includes romantic or sexual love. Much of the New Testament was written in Greek, which has multiple words for the concept of love. Romantic or sexual love would be referred to as eros, but the love the Bible most often discusses is referred to as agape. Eros certainly does get some discussion when it comes to lust and how we should handle matters like marriage and romance, but that is not what is often referred to when the Bible discusses love. The word agape describes a more selfless, all-encompassing form of love, one which can only be held by the God who created our universe. It is the love which Paul describes in 1 Corinthians 13. Whereas other forms of love, because eros and agape are not the only forms of love which we have described in the Bible, nor are they the only forms within the Greek language, are mere supplements. Agape is a form which sustains and allows for one to live up to their full potential. The beginning of 1 Corinthians 13 sums it up best, despite it often being omitted from most quotations of the passage that I've heard in my lifetime. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I have become a sounding brass or a clanging cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy, and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith, so that I could move mountains, and have not love, I am nothing. And though I could bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, but have not love, it profits me nothing. If one does not love as God does not live their life with this love, then all of their works, no matter how great, are worthless. This love is a natural extension of faith in Christ, and should be something one has as a Christian. But perhaps this is a subject for another video. I'd recommend reading the rest of the chapter on your own if you'd like a better, fuller description of what God's love looks like. But it's important to know, just in general, that that is the type of love that is being described when the Bible talks about love. Now, our final piece of advice is, well, it's a piece of advice as opposed to the other two, which were more things to know about translations. And this piece of advice is, well, about agendas in more recent modern translations. And I would advise thus to be wary of certain modern translations. Not every translation of the Bible will actually aim for faithfulness to the source material, the original Hebrew and Greek. In fact, you will often see quite the opposite, with some translations adding or removing material in order to fulfill certain agendas or push certain beliefs which are unbiblical. And in some instances, they might add books or whatnot. And I'd say that's the biggest red flag, is if any books outside the main 66, Genesis to Revelation, are included, then stay away. But usually anything outside the King James, New King James, or New International Versions tend to be outside of the realm of total trustworthiness in my experience, though use your best judgment. Even then, the NIV aims to hit a middle ground between modern English and faithfulness to the original source material, which isn't always possible and isn't always going to lead to a high-quality translation compared to other versions. My personal recommendation would be to start with the New King James Version if you want one, since that's the one I read in my free time, but I think the New International Version can be a great starting point for new believers who might want more accessible language within the Bible. I know a lot of people recommend the English Standard Version as well, but I cannot speak for its veracity. Now, with that in mind, those are just things that I felt were important to say. Those two things that confused me when I was a new believer and even well into my walk, and that one piece of advice that I felt was important to share, since honestly it seems like it's incredibly easy nowadays for people to, be swindlers and be like, oh, this is the definitive Bible, or for people to have incorrect theology or peddle downright wrong or misleading doctrine based on certain versions of the Bible. In fact, there are Bibles made for the sake of cults, just because that's how the cults operate. But if there are any pieces of advice or any notes regarding Bible translations that you wanted to leave, for new believers and old believers alike, feel free to leave those in the comments down below. And if this video was helpful or you otherwise liked it, please give me a like. And if you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe. I am so far very much enjoying making new Christian videos, and honestly find them more fulfilling than I did my old type of content. So with all that said, this has been Cosmos the Alien, and I will be wishing you all a wonderful rest of your week.